Hi, I'm Jamie Carragher, and you are listening to Across the Park podcast.
Welcome to Across the Park podcast, the only place you can hear banter and debate from both sides of Stanley Park, whether it be blue or red. Sponsored by Their Clothing, Camper Kings UK, and affiliation with BetMate.
Hello everyone, massive thank you to Jamie Carragher and Ian Mills, as always, who brought in our show this week. Welcome to Across the Park podcast. It's episode 19 of the 2021-2022 season, and it's our very last episode. Well, it's our very last episode that we brought to you by us four, or by two Reds and two Blues. For our YouTube viewers or our subscribers, please subscribe now, by the way, if you haven't already. We'll be releasing some what we call extra episodes during Christmas, so they're episodes that were pre-recorded. Some of them quite some time back, but they're featuring former Everton or former Liverpool players, or in some cases, some celebrity Everton or Liverpool followers. Okay, so they'll be released to you over Christmas. We're hoping to bring 5 to you over consecutive days, the 27th all the way up to New Year's Eve. But again, we'll put them out on our social media, but keep tuned for the YouTube subscribers. For the podcast listeners, unfortunately, there won't be another podcast from us now until the 3rd of January. So that's Bank Holiday Monday. So we'll be recording after, a load of fixtures. As I'm sure you can appreciate, it's difficult for us to bring podcasts to you guys over Christmas because the game's coming thick and fast. And also, we want to spend a little bit of time with the family as well, as I'm sure you guys, everyone out there will be doing. Okay, so thanks as always to our clothing suppliers, Their Clothing, to Camper Kings UK, one of our long-term sponsors, and to our affiliates, BetMate. We'll be bringing BetMate's fantasy football game in later on when we preview the upcoming fixtures. Okay, without further ado, there was quite a big meeting that took place today with the Premier League, obviously really important to us as fans and definitely to all the football clubs. So, Gary, we had one of our listeners who wrote in asking a question about said meeting and what it might mean to us in the podcast and obviously what we thought about it.
Yeah, it basically just started with what do you make of the rumoured break in the season if infections continue? And the second part was what will happen to the show if this happens. So we've already answered about the show. We're already going to take a break anyway. But yeah, on the infections, what do you think?
Who was it, Gary? Who was the question from?
Sorry, it was from Bob on the website.
Cheers, Bob. Well, thanks for the question. I'll hand over to you first, Terry. What are your thoughts on a potential break? Where would you stand on it?
Yeah, I mean, it's an interesting one. I mean, I think, we have seen a lot of upset in terms of the fixtures, haven't we, with, players going down with COVID and stuff like that. So you can see, why there'd be a bit of pressure to have the break. I think, I don't know who I was speaking to someone last week about this, and I did say, I honestly don't think the Premier League will ever voluntarily take a break ever again. I think that they'd only take one if the government basically bounced them into it, because so many clubs struggled so badly financially. They had to pay loads of money back. The hit, I think they said it was around 900 million or nearly £1 billion. That sort of impacted the league. So I just can't ever see, I know it sounds bad to say that money sort of runs the game, but at the same time, these are businesses, aren't they? And I just couldn't see that they would ever, sort of voluntarily vote to suspend as long as there's players in the squad that are capable of getting out onto the pitch. So I'm not shocked, to be honest, that the game is still going ahead. I do still think it's a bit in the balance, though, that the government might actually step in and take that decision out of their hands at some point.
Pricey, what's your take on it? Obviously, Terry's give us the proper Premier League commercial stance on it. What's your opinion as a fan, a match-going fan?
As a fan, I'd be really disappointed if it closed down, especially over Christmas. I mean, Christmas is about football, isn't it? Especially, your Boxing Day fixtures in particular. So if they close down any time between now and Christmas Day, and they said that they're going to be a break over Christmas, I'd be really disappointed. I think there's talk of even going behind closed doors. Seeing today, I think it's Henry Winter had sent a tweet saying there's a possibility of it going behind closed doors again. And that'd be better than closing down. As I probably agree with Terry, if it got to that point, I think behind closed doors seems more likely than completely closing it down. But yeah, from a selfish fan point of view, I don't want it to close down at all. Like, you need your football. As fans, we need our football, especially over Christmas. And not only that, but the disruption it causes to the season as well, and it just joins the effect. I mean, already there's teams who have played more than other teams, and if it gets too much like that, where teams have got 3 or 4 games in hand, I think the competition comes a bit silly, really. So I agree with Terry. I don't think the Premier League will close down unless it absolutely has to, but I can probably see it becoming behind closed doors at some point. I just hope that we get Christmas out the way before they start looking at that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I agree. To be fair, well, listen. There was a game that we didn't get a chance to review, or Everton's last game, which was Chelsea away. So we'll start with that. It was Thursday. It was a few days ago now. Feels like ages ago, but yeah, it was Thursday. It was what could have been a defining night for Rafael Benitez. I think a lot of fans were in that. Certainly in the position where I think if we'd have took a heavy defeat at Chelsea, which wasn't beyond question, it wasn't out of the question, I think it may have been maybe tough for Benitez to come back from. That didn't happen. We got a positive result against all odds. What did you make of the performance and I suppose the results as well?
I was made up for the younger players, particularly, and the players who have been on the fringe of the team, and I'm thinking of John Joe Quinn. Even though he's younger, he's still, you'd consider him to be a first team player, but they got the chance. I was made up with the way we played, the way we applied ourselves more than anything. When I seen the starting lineup before the kickoff, an hour before the kickoff, my heart sunk. I was already expecting a 3-0 probably to Chelsea. So when it came in, it was like, it could be painful, this. And then with that, obviously, as you say, the detractors of Benitez will come out even further. But I was just made up. With the application that the players, gave to the game, and for the younger players. And Andy Gordon, I thought was the standout player for me. I thought he was exceptional. His work rate, and on the ball, he was creating stuff when we had the chance, and on the counter attack when we had our opportunities as well. Did you see his interview after it? That's what you want. That when he's saying, "The fans make me feel like a superstar." There, yeah. That's brilliant. That's what you want. You love to see a player like that. He hasn't. Would he be in the starting lineup if we were where we want to be? Probably not. But the fact he is in the team, I love it. You love that there's a youngster there and a scouser who feels what the fans feel. So that was brilliant seeing that. And let's not get carried away. Chelsea had the chances. Chelsea could have still won 3-0 if they would have took the chances. Pickford had a really good game, but it wasn't worrying about that. It was about getting the result. It was about applying the game plan that Benitez had clearly set out, which I think all the players to a man did. I think you could tell what they'd been asked to do, and they'd done it. And that was the pleasing thing for me, and obviously the result as well was brilliant. After thinking that it could possibly be a whitewash, to come away with a point was fantastic. And like I say, for the young lads, I'm made up for them more than anything else.
Yeah, they were the two things I took away from it: the personality that the team showed, on the pitch, off the pitch. Again, there was the scenes when they went over to the crowds at the end, and you could see the togetherness in some of the young lads. Probably some of the lads, like you said, that probably felt they should have got an opportunity before last night. But it's one of them when you come in, as a player who's been out in the cold, whether you're a young player or whether you're a John Joe Kenny who's not the youngest anymore. He must be like 23 now. So it's how you're going to take it, isn't it? It could have been easy for them to come in and go, well, listen, let's down tools here and let's put the final nail in his coffin and I'll get a chance under the next manager. Some of them showing that they obviously made a little bit of tougher stuff. And like you say, the likes of Anthony Gordon really did puff his chest out and show what he was made of as a player and as a personality. I've said a few times I wasn't sure what I felt on Anthony Gordon. I knew, I loved his work rate and his application, and he was improving. I wasn't sure he was ever going to be up to the level. I still don't know, but he's growing on me. Like game on game, he's growing on me. And he what else I will say? The lad's got balls. He has got bottle, and he puts it on the line every game. And it's a confidence thing, isn't it? For any young player, but coming into a side that at times is struggling immensely, like we have, it does take a lot of bottle. And he hasn't hit. He has stood up and he's been counted on a number of occasions, hasn't he? And
what I noticed about the Chelsea game, even though he's only 20 himself, he's encouraging the younger ones himself because he's a first team, and if you like, and Sims isn't and Dobbin isn't, you seen him encouraging them as if he was like an experienced player, which was brilliant. So yeah, he was stand out, and yeah, as I say, I don't. They still play. I was made up for them. They're going to be good players in the future. They're still not ready for it. So let's not pretend that we've got youngsters who are going to come in the team and that's our team now to go forward. It's not going to be like that. They're still going to have to bide the time and get the opportunities. But what was brilliant is that it couldn't have been much tougher than going to Stamford Bridge away after the disappointment of Palace the week before and to come up with a performance like that. So, fair play to them, and let's just see how we can progress now. And if they need to call on them again, they're there and willing and ready to step in.
And let's be fair to Benitez as well. It's not the first time this season that we've seen extraordinary levels of commitment from the players, is it? And we couldn't say that many times over the last few seasons. Don't get me wrong, there's been some really poor performances in there, and obviously, as the form book tells you, there's been some terrible results. But you can very rarely in that run question the commitment of some of the players, could you? No,
but at the same time, the commitment that the younger lads did show made the players who weren't involved, it made that more evident that how much they need to give. And without taking negatives from the game, I think our poorest player was Gomez, who should have been, head and shoulders above the rest of them, should have been encouraging them, should have been, the captain type of performance, and it wasn't. And, so I don't know. Still question marks over the squad and the commitment of the team in general. But yeah, I think they've shown a few people up. Certainly, a few of the first teamers up. I think.
Just a question for you: is that basically the end of Luca Dean's Everton career? Do you think?
That's our next. Obviously, our next discussion point. Luca Dean is one of them players, as Terry just said, whose commitment has been brought into question. It's no doubt now he's been completely left out in the cold. He was fit for the game the other night, or he said, he's not feeling well.
He ruled himself out, didn't he?
Yeah, well, he's all but been frozen out now, hasn't he? I think, and obviously that we've had an offer accepted for a Ukrainian left back. Again, I can't say much about him. Milichenko, young player, obviously around £20 million, which you'd imagine would be the minimum that we'll get for Luca Dean. Looks to be a direct replacement. Where do you stand on that?
I mean, it appears that Dean's definitely going to go. I think he's been average for too long, Dean. I think when he first came, or certainly after his first 6 months, that he was one of our standout players. He was really good, but I think he's been average for too long. He hasn't been the worst player, but he hasn't hit the levels or the heights that he did previously. I know that's got to do certainly with the way Benitez is asking him to play, but I just think you expect more from him. So if we can bring in, as you say, money for Dean and that pays for the replacement with a bit of change to do something with, then I'm fine with that. That's all right with me. I don't think he's that much of a. He's one of our assets that we can do without, and as I say, raise some funds for. So if we're going to do that, that's all right. I'm fine with it. What about you? Do you think we'll miss him?
I think we'll miss him. I've got to be honest. I think we will miss him. I think I agree with you. He has been below par for him for his levels. I think if he was another left back, for example, if he was a local kid, you'd probably still be thinking he's a great player. Do you know what I mean? But I think he, like you say, he set the bar so high when he first come in. His stats were extraordinary. He was up there with the Robertsons and Trent and whatever, and the best attacking fullbacks in the league. I think he's definitely been a victim of the style of play without doubt. But I can't disagree with you that he has been, below par for a while. So I don't think it's a bad move. I think what's really ironic about it is that. I can maybe Bengarov. I'm just thinking of players who we've signed under the age of 23, whilst Brand was in charge for a decent fee, and I can only really think of Godfrey, maybe Richarlison, and possibly Iwobi. I'm not sure if Iwobi falls into that bracket. He's probably 24, 25. So we've just got rid of the director of football who was renowned for bringing all this, young talent in and players who are up and coming who are maybe going to increase in value over time. As soon as he's left, we've gone and picked one out. It's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah, it's weird, yeah. But it comes back. I think your own manager's got to bring in his own players, and if he has made a stand, if Benitez manoeuvred it, whatever's happened with Digne. I mean, Benitez said he was in the starting lineup against Chelsea if he hadn't have pulled himself, made himself unavailable. So, however it's happened, I think your manager's got to. He's going to, and he's got to bring in his own players, players he thinks that can take the team on the next level. And clearly, for whatever reason, he doesn't think Luca Dean's the person. Whether that's because of what he's saying on the training ground, his attitude, or whether he just doesn't think he's good enough on the pitch. But the fact that he's being able to bring in his own players, I think, is going to be a positive.
Yeah, definitely encouraging. Okay, we'll come back to Everton later on. big game that took place yesterday at the London Stadium. Is it still White Hart Lane? Still White Hart Lane, isn't it? The new White Hart Lane, the London Stadium, whatever it's called. It's not the London Stadium, but anyway, big game at Tottenham for you lads yesterday, filled with controversy from an officiating point of view. A 2-2 game. I mean, I went out and watched it and I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd say as a neutral, but I definitely wasn't a neutral. But I thoroughly enjoyed the game. I thought it was, for the Tottenham team and for an Antonio Conte team, it was a very, end-to-end, proper Premier League game. But obviously for you lads, there was a result on the line. You took a point away. What do you make of it?
First of all, I think we made a mistake by not trying to get it called off, if I'm honest. I do. I think that's the first mistake we made of the game, because for me, you've lost. All right, the game the other day, we were without Fabinho and Van Dijk. We can cope with that. That's fine. We've got other players suitable enough to come in. But then when you get into this game and you've lost Van Dijk and Fabinho still, added to that, it's Thiago and Henderson, that's your main three midfielders who play most weeks, and your best centre half who plays every game. You're basically down to half your team, or half your best team anyway. And I just think when you've got other teams who are getting games called off, who are going to have games in hand and things like that. Not that the teams who are mid-table or whatever are going to catch us or anything like that, but we could potentially have done ourselves harm in the title race by not getting at the advantage that we could have got by being able to play the game with our full strength team. But having said that, the way the game played out, we had a chance to win the game still. As you said, there's been plenty of controversy in the game, and I'm sure we'll get onto that. But from our own point of view, I don't think we certainly didn't defend well enough in the game. Tottenham had well too many chances in the game. Only for Alisson, ironically, that we stayed in the game a lot of the time. And then right at the end, well, not right at the end, but towards the end of the game, it's on Alisson that we concede the goal to give them the equaliser. So yeah, it's a tough one really for me to say whether I'm happy with, disappointed with. There's that many different decisions that have gone for and against us that I just think it's one of them. A point away at Tottenham is at the end of the world. Is it a bad result? It's probably not, is it?
Yeah,
I'm sure we'll look back at this at some point and be like, it's a good point.
Yeah, and I personally, I don't agree that we should have, sort of tried to get it off. I mean, I know we're missing Van Dijk and Fabinho, but Henderson wasn't a COVID miss, was it? They said that was something else. He felt under the weather or something, and that's just something you've got a squad of 24 players. Rightly or wrongly, I feel like we should be trying to put games on. There'll be fans who bought tickets to go to the away game and stuff. And find out last minute you're gonna try and get it cancelled. That wouldn't be for me. But by the by, it's I agree with you in terms of it was a bit of a mad game. Where you're sort of looking at it, can you look at it as it was a point game? Because in fairness, I actually thought they had the better chance of Spurs. I thought we were pretty poor. In terms of particularly in the middle, the midfield was diabolical. Between Keita, Milner, and the young lads. I know the young lad Morton's been brilliant when he's came in Champions League games, but that was a baptism of fire for him there.
Yeah,
in that game against Spurs, it was 100 miles an hour, as Judgy said, a proper Premier League game. But I'm still expecting Milner and Keita to have a bit more about them, in terms of getting a grip of that midfield. I was very disappointed with the gaps that were appearing, and also with the tactics. To be honest, the way we start, what I don't like, I think I said it in the group. What I don't like is feel like there's an arrogance about us that when we're missing our entire midfield, we're missing Van Dijk, and then we'll still continue to play this insanely high line. With nothing in front to screen it. And I think that's what cost us. Spurs were just literally primed to hit us on the break. That's what they do. That's what they've done over the last couple of seasons is use Son and Kane on the break, explosive, and just sort of try and get in behind you. And it was almost like we went, yeah, we know what you want to do. We'll make it easier for you. Have a go. Because I just got a question. When you've got no legs in the midfield, like Keita and Milner, why are you not dropping the line just 5 yards to give yourself half a chance? Or it was crazy. It was almost like going back to Klopp football when he first came, of just trying out.
We'll score more than you.
Yeah, and I don't know. Maybe sometimes that is the best. Attack's the best form of defense, but there was so many opportunities for them, like good chances, where I thought.
Yeah, and even if you think, even if you're thinking that that's the best way to approach this game, after half an hour, you know full well we're under the cosh a bit with their attack. So I have to agree with that. Like at some point during the game, it should have been a lot earlier in the game. It should have been stopped.
I did feel for Morton. No, I mean, he's had a great start. A couple of first team appearances and looked really assured. But I think every time we see Fabinho when he gets up to form and then he goes out the side, we miss it so bad. That's
it's a big miss.
It's such a big gaping hole in the middle of the park for us there. Like when he's not available, it's super important that we sort of get him back, and keep him fit. But as you say, all in all, although it's a bit of a disappointment that Man City have stolen a little march on us, at the same time, I don't think we can really be that. We can't grumble too much there. Conte hasn't lost a game since he came in at Spurs.
Did Spurs beat City first game of the season? Yeah. So although it's being looked at as City have stolen a match, if you look at game to game, we've gained a point on them.
Yeah, but I mean, Spurs haven't been great, but since Conte's came in, he's tightened them up. They've been much harder to beat. He hasn't lost a game yet, so to go there, as you say, and with a bit of an understrength side.
Well, missing 4 of your first choice starting 11.
Yeah, to take a point and well, like we rode our luck, we lived a bit dangerous, but at the same time, there was some great attacking football from us as well. The fullbacks were exceptional, so can't grumble too much. I don't think at taking a point, but obviously the game aside, and obviously a lot of controversy was around the refereeing team. For me, the quality of refereeing in the Premier League at the moment is just going further and further down. It's abysmal. It's absolutely abysmal.
The showing on that game yesterday was ridiculous. Like from the Kane challenge, not certainly. I can understand. All right, the ref might not have got a proper view and thought a yellow card was sufficient, but then for the video ref to not say, yeah, I think you should check it just to make sure you've seen everything. To not even check it, that's just ridiculous.
Well, why does he even need the referee to go and check it? Surely the VAR can look at that and say that's a red card offence.
Well, yeah, he can do, yeah. But if he wants to say to the ref, I'm not sure if you've seen everything, just go and make sure, just so you can confirm your own decision. Give him the opportunity to rectify it. He hasn't even gave him that opportunity.
Yeah.
And then
have you seen the explanation afterwards though? He said because Robertson jumped a little bit, and it's like, hang on, so the reason he didn't get sent off is because Robertson.
Is that the official explanation for it? I've seen the one on Sky where that ref watch was like the height of his foot or something like that.
It's like it's absolutely insane. It's a red card.
It is like
and no two ways about it. But and you look on the other hand. I'm not going to defend Robertson. I think it was a stupid. Just like, what are you doing? It's just you're a captain for your international team. You're a senior player. You need it. I know we like that little bit of our he's got about him, but at the same time, you need a little bit of nous as well. It's like it could have cost us the game. That it was a stupid kick. Like where he just swiped his legs. But then, as you say, the inconsistency of not sending Kane off, but sending him off for that is just like, I know it's necessarily like it's not 1-for-1. It doesn't work quite that way. But that Robertson's a red card, Kane's was a red card, and then not even just them instances. We had a penalty on Jota that wasn't given, and VAR can't look at that and say it wasn't a foul. But then they had one where Matip pushed their player, and that wasn't given.
Yeah, that was a blatant penalty as well.
It's just insane, and it's just like, what game are they watching? Where you're looking at it thinking. So you look
at 4 decisions is basically it's 2 red cards and it's 2 penalties.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
And yeah, you're looking at it and sort of thinking, fair results, a draw, I suppose, at the end, because we both had ones that went against us and both had ones that sort of went for us or whatever. But I don't know. I just hate that after such a boss game, you're talking about refereeing performances.
Yeah. But again, clutching at straws a little bit to make it a bit easier, a bit like from a Liverpool point of view. If Kane goes when he should have went, the rest of it doesn't happen, does it?
Yeah, potentially, because it's a very different game. Their game plan goes out the window a little bit,
Yeah.
you know, like in terms of trying to spring them counter attack. So
Alisson has other ideas, though, Gary.
yeah.
No, well, yeah, but Alisson, we've seen the best and the worst of Alisson in that game.
Yeah.
You know,
Kept us
he's
in
made
it,
some,
and
he
Dele
made
Alli.
some unbelievable saves. The Dele Alli one, but he's made other great interceptions, other great saves during the game. But then that happens. He comes
Been a
out.
few times that this season, hasn't it?
It is, but again, you know, and I said it in the WhatsApp, this is not defending him because it's bad. He has done it a few times this season, but he's also being asked to. That's a big gap between our defensive line and our goalkeeper, and you're putting that sort of hesitation of do I come, do I not, into the mind of the keeper.
That's been that way for a while, though, isn't it? In terms of the highest play of the pitch. Now, Alisson's now committed more errors leading to an opposing goal than any player since the start of the 2021 season.
Yeah, but that's also the start of the 2021 season. That was also when we started doing that real high line. You know, was
that when the VAR thing came in for offside?
He was a player, by the way. That's just any goalkeeper, any player.
Yeah, well, it's more likely to be a goalkeeper than a normal player, isn't it? Because you haven't got you're the last man. So
no, I think it's not actually all goal. I think there's only 3 goalies in it. The rest are outfield players. Like Maguire's in there, and like a couple of Arsenal players.
But it's not a defense of him because, you know, his decision making at times when he is coming out, some of them you're thinking, oh, you know, like what are you doing? But at the same time, I don't think it helps him. I genuinely don't, especially when you've got a team like Spurs who was sliding passes in, literally sliding passes past our defence as if it wasn't even there. The number of times Kane and Son were getting in behind with just slip passes in between the centre back and full back.
I think one thing you would say, I've definitely said this before, it's always to do with your midfield, though, isn't it? The lack of pressure on the ball. When being able to get balls in behind so easily is more down to lack of pressure on the ball.
Yeah. But it's both. And again, it's that arrogance that what I'm saying. We play this insanely high line, even when we haven't got our proper midfield. It works when we've got our proper midfielder, Henderson, you know, and Fabinho there screening and stuff. And then you've got Van Dijk and our full normal back four. You can play that high line, you can do it. When they're not there, surely you tweak the system a bit. You say, just drop it 5 yards, a little touch, you know what I mean? It's like, are you expecting the same pressure on the ball from Milner and Keita, who haven't played for weeks, and Morton?
I think a big thing there as well is the opponent, innit? You know, you're going away to Spurs, who you know that's how Conte's going to want them to play against us. If you're going to play against, you know, not to disrespect anyone, but say like at Southampton or something like that, you can probably get away with that.
Yeah,
you know
and that's it. I just want that little bit touch more pragmatism. Yeah. You know, where sometimes I just think we just need.
Who's the dominant centre half then? Who could just, because it's about the players on the pitch as well, isn't it? About them realising what's happening and just saying, let's just take 5. Let's not go
out of the two and
pushing out. Let's just you want your centre half to be able to say
game management.
Yeah,
Matip's never been that leader at the back.
He's got to be though, hasn't he? If he's your leading, if Van Dijk's on the pitch, it falls to Matip. He's got to. It's not whether he doesn't. He's get away with it. He doesn't. He's got to. That's his job to do it. So as much as it's your midfield, you've got to say about your centre back as well. Let's have a look at what's going on. Let's just drop a bit here.
But this is the issue. But this is the issue, though, is like, you know, what we always say, when Van Dijk isn't there, it feels like there isn't that leadership in the back line. Gomez doesn't do it, Matip doesn't do it. You know, it's like, that's been missing for a long time, you know, in terms of someone else who's willing to grab the line by the scruff of the neck.
It's not just the centre-backs who need to, or the defence that need to drop, though. The midfielders need to drop that little touch as well. So it's not just Matip saying to Canate, we need to drop a little bit.
No, but it's usually a centre-back. If Van Dijk's on the pitch, it's him communicating to the midfield, to the centre-backs. That's where it comes from. It comes from one player saying, and it usually is your centre-half that does it. And he drags the midfield back with him. That's how it works.
I suppose the argument, though, probably that Gary's suggesting is that Henderson might be that player who goes, hold on, this is happening too often now. As a captain, I think you look around. James Milner's a leader, obviously, but he more leads by his actions, doesn't he, as opposed to verbally. And I think we probably were missing a few of those yesterday. But listen, you know, we'll wrap that up because we've got plenty more to cover. I think Gary feels, you know, relating it back to the City Tottenham game, that was still maybe 1 point gain. You're obviously, Terry, suggesting that maybe it wasn't.
Yeah, no, I think it was 1-point game because they had the better chances. I think I'm okay with the draw. You know, I would have liked a win, obviously, but you know, all told, I think.
I think looking at the game on a whole as well, the fact that we went 2-1 up and the goal that we conceded, the way that we conceded, that's what's hard to take from it. But at the same time, I draw at Tottenham away in on the whole 90 minutes. It's not a bad result.
Yeah, to be honest, I was ready to jump all over you as if you suggested that you like well deserved the win. The only thing I will add, by the way, is you won't guess. You'll have to guess who sent me that stat. Oh, it's Allison.
Yeah, Mills.
yeah.
Mills messaged me 30 seconds after it happened, I think.
Mills know more about Allison than me.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Millsy will be sitting sipping his brew now, listening to this in work, smiling. So thanks for that, Millsy. Yeah, so we're going to briefly touch on your Carabao Cup fixture, which we're assuming at this moment in time will be going ahead against Leicester. Is it away?
No, it's at home.
At home. Okay, so yeah. What is? I mean, I'm assuming there's going to be wholesale changes. Obviously, well, I don't know. Yeah, I suppose that.
I don't know if we can now.
Yeah,
is going to be brought into question, isn't it?
Yeah, I think we were talking about this, weren't we? Like, obviously, when we cruised through the Champions League group, I was sort of saying to me, Dad, we can afford to go strong against Leicester now. You know, like we can really put a strong side out and take this League Cup serious because it's not many games now to the final. You sort of, it's an opportunity for us to get to maybe go a bit deeper in these types of competitions, whereas we're normally struggling and going in Champions League group until the last game and all that and killing ourselves. The way we cruised through that, I said to me, Dad, I want to see a strong team against Leicester. You know, they've sort of had issues. They've had basically no defence, haven't they, for a couple of weeks, Leicester? So you're looking at it as an opportunity. But as Gary said, with the back of all these, like, sort of COVID going missing and players isolating and all that.
There's going to be a few changes we can obviously make. You know, you're going to see Tsimikas come in. You're going to see Gomez probably start. Nico Williams might start. Oxlade-Chamberlain, Minamino, Origi. They can all come in. Firmino will probably get some minutes because he's...
I'm just taking the chance to bring this in because I picked my little team for tomorrow. You're playing Leicester, obviously, £3 game of fancy football. So I've gone for those players. I've gone for Tsimikas, Oxlade-Chamberlain, Origi. I threw in a few players that I think might play. I'm just showing out. You can obviously click on the info. I did originally put James Justin in at the back, but then I looked at the previous game and he didn't play him. So I think I took him out for someone else. I'll let you carry on. That's just in the background. But again, for any of our listeners, if you want a little stab at that game, that's again, you want to play a little bit of fancy footy while the footy's on, which is what I've gone for.
You're missing a trick not having Minamino in your team. Loves a goal in that comp.
He's on the bench. I can still bring him in. That's the good thing about it. I think 5 minutes before up to 5 minutes before the kickoff, you can change it. So if he starts, I might throw him in somewhere if I can. As you can see.
Yeah,
Leicester are struggling for players though, aren't they?
Yeah, that's what I said.
They're really struggling, yeah.
Not no defenders. I think they've been playing like proper kids, you know, like academy grads and that in defence because I think they're missing like all the defenders. So I'm not sure what they're going to be looking like, you know, at that point in terms of what players they've got available. But it certainly is like it's a great opportunity if we can win that, you know, and as I say, the League Cup, you know, City win it feels like they win it every season because they've got the squad to sort of do it and they put strong sides out. We've taken it, you know, for granted in the past and just sort of, you know, threw all kinds of mad sides out. I know we've talked about that on the podcast, haven't we, where Klopp doesn't really care for the domestic trophies, but I really want to see us sort of go and win one, you know, like and
go to Wembley again.
Yeah, well, exactly, you know, and the opportunity's there. It's not many games, so
God knows how you feel, Judge.
Yeah, I wasn't going to back on that. Yeah, I want to go to Wembley,
But no, you know, I think it is a good opportunity as long as we can get, you know, a reasonably strong side out between now and then, because obviously anything can happen, can't it? We've seen the speed that players are going out here, you know, and going missing and having to isolate and stuff. So be interesting to see what side we can actually genuinely get out. But I'm with you guys. I'd like to see a lot of them players come in. I think they should still be good enough to do a job.
Yeah, I think if we can put them players in and you know, which I don't see why we can't. It's still a relatively strong team compared to some of the teams we put out in the past in this competition. Yeah. So I certainly, as you said there, I certainly want us to go and win the game. I want us to get to Wembley for the final and try and win the competition. It's been, you know, the main focus for us has obviously been the Champions League and the Premier League the last few years. But you still want the domestic cups. You want the days out to the finals and domestic trophies as well.
Yeah, and the League Cup doesn't get in the way. It's like you play the final in March, don't you, or something?
February it usually is, isn't it?
Yeah, it's normally the 24th of February, something like that, isn't it? 25th.
Yeah, so.
But go on then, predictions, both teams, as we've said, missing players for the game. What are your feelings on it?
Goals galore. I'm going to go 4-2 Liverpool.
I'm going to say 3-1 Liverpool.
Hi, I'm Stephen Warnock, and you're watching the Across the Park podcast.
Thought I'd bring break it up a little bit there before we move on to. We usually have two shows as our listeners and subscribers will know. On that note, I think we're on 955 subscribers now, 955. We really want to get to 1,000 by the end of the year. So if you haven't already subscribed, like Stephen Warnock, please subscribe at the bottom. So just under the video here, you should see a subscribe button. Takes a second to just click it, and that's it. It really does help us. So if we get to 1,000, we can start doing like live shows, which is what we really want to try and improve the interaction with our viewers and listeners. So please subscribe if you haven't already. So we usually do 2 shows. We're not going to do that this week because again, we're going into Christmas and whatever. So what we're going to do is, instead of doing This Week in History, which we usually put as part of our Game On show, we're going to look back at 2021, which is one of the requests from one of our listeners this week anyway. So what I'm going to ask, I'm going to go around the table, if you like. I'm going to ask for your high point of 2021. Me and Pricey are really scraping the barrel looking for high points. Your low point of 2021 and your wish for 2022. Okay, so I'm gonna start with you, Gary, because I know you've had a bit more of a chance to prep yours. So starting with your your high point of 2021.
My high point, I'll probably go with the 5-0 at Old Trafford. It's everything you wanted from the game. You know, it was a point where you knew Man United were here, and we were in a good time for Liverpool. And I just thought there's been loads of times in the past where we could have put them to the sword and haven't. You know, even the 4-1, they sort of got away with one there when Desailly lobbed Van der Sar. Even that was still a little bit easy for them. The 5-0, yeah, this 5-0, you've seen it proper hurt them. That really, really hurt them. I think you had Solskjaer there crying at the final whistle and everything. So yeah, for me, that was just on cloud 9 there.
I was watching it in a bar on holiday, and there was a load of Mancs around me, and they were hating big time. Terry, your high for 2021?
Yeah, I'd probably say the same, to be honest. I mean, I thought it was like an immense performance against Man U, you know, and
the same, Terry, you got to come something else. I know you're looking at your phone there, trying to look at what happens in 2021.
Second price, but yeah, I would say it can't just come up with something, can I? That is the one where I thought, you know, to absolutely demolish Man U in that manner, you know, and I think we said on the podcast afterwards it was seriously impressive, where it could have been 10. You know, like we played that well, so that was definitely the high.
Pricey?
The Anfield win, I think. Winning at Anfield in February, first time in 20 years that we won at Anfield. I think that's got to stand out as being my best moment of the year. Just a shame the fans weren't there, to be honest with you.
We watched it in yours, didn't we?
Watched it in ours, yeah. I think Teddy might have been nearly crying at the end as well, talking about people nearly crying. But I think it was a obviously win at the derby. It's just a shame we weren't there. It was brilliant to win, and brilliant to go be in a derby and never feel under too much pressure. To be honest, I think it was a game that we deserved to win. I don't think it was a game that Liverpool particularly played well in. But yeah, that's got to be the highlight for me, winning at Anfield. There hasn't been many, but that's probably it.
Yeah, I agree. There hasn't been many. I'm going to go for a game that I was in. It was only a few weeks ago. It feels like a million miles away. Well, seems like a long time ago because we've had a few setbacks since. But the Arsenal win the other night, it was just bossy and Goodison back to its majestic self and the positivity around the ground, despite going into the game, you know, clouded with a bit of controversy about the 27th minute stuff and all that. But the fans really got behind the team, and it was just a boss atmosphere and really enjoyable. So I'm going to go for that one because it's a fairly recent memory. Okay, low points then, Gary. Your low point for 20.
Yeah, do you know what? I was thinking it's got to be the derby at Anfield. You know, it was for me. What was the main for you to get the win? You know, it was frustrating because it's been such a long time, and we all the banter that we have over the years when we're at the game and we're singing since 1999, you have at one of them fields and all that. That's gone out the window and just with ease. It wasn't like we didn't give it enough of a fight. We weren't good enough on the day. It was just everything about it was just horrible. So for me, that's what really sticks out.
Sorry, you've had a
yeah. Well, no, that whole period was just a low. That like run of home games was just consecutive defeats and just literally just looking an absolute shambles at that time. Where we'd gone from New Year sitting on top of the New Year's Day, we're top of the league, and then completely out of the run and scrapping to even get into European places after a horrific run. So that was definitely the low. It was the lowest I've felt as a Liverpool fan for a number of years. That where I thought, like, what is going on here? And all the carnage with like no defenders and stuff. It was a really, really tough couple of weeks, to be honest. Probably a tough 2 months. So yeah, I'm gonna say that whole period. How many home games was it that we lost in around 6? Was it
5 or 6? Wasn't it?
5 or 6. So that was the low. That was a pretty miserable, sort of period for me as a Liverpool fan. That so. Yeah, I'll say that.
Pricey, I think we can certainly top their lows, can't we?
I think my low was Ancelotti leaving. I think because I honestly felt that because it came out of the blue. It was no one expected. I think there was media reports of it one day, and I think even on the same day he'd left or the day after he'd left. So it wasn't like it was building up. It was completely out of the blue. And I honestly thought, we didn't know about the financial fair play restrictions that were going to happen to us later. So I honestly thought that we could build on what he'd started to do last season, bring in a couple of signings, and we'd push on. And then it just felt like we were sort of back to square one a little bit once he went and once he left. So I don't think I've been that disappointed as an Everton. Well, I've had me to. That's a bit of a strong thing to say, but I was really disappointed when.
You definitely have.
Yeah, I definitely have. But it felt a bit like when Duncan Ferguson left that time. It was that type of thing, like really gutted about it and couldn't believe it. So that's probably got to be my low point when he left, I think, of the last year.
Yeah, again, I don't have to reach too far back. The recent derby at Goodison was horrific. 4-1 defeat, or a defeat any time to Liverpool, as Gary just said about that derby is never nice. But the manner of the defeat, we were just nowhere near Liverpool, and it was not that we needed the realisation, because I think going into the game, it was very much billed as like, this is, the levels, there's a difference in levels here, and you've seen it on the night, not just in the quality of the play, but the commitment of the players. You haven't seen that very often at all in Merseyside derbies, where we haven't even looked like we're matching Liverpool for effort or application, but that was the case in the last derby. We were just comprehensively beaten, and we're second to every ball and every competition across the pitch. So a bitterly disappointing thing for me. Looking forward to 2022. I'll start so we can go in a different order. I'll come back to you next, Pricey. I'm just open for 2 really positive transfer windows where, again, hopefully we keep our manager. I'm not, whoever the manager is at this moment in time, whoever it was, I wanted us to stick with them and give them a chance to bring in the players they want. I'm assuming and hoping that manager will still be Rafael Benitez, and that we've got through some tougher times, I guess, in those periods. But I think the windows are essential, more important probably than anything. I don't think, and God, I really hope I'm not putting the mockers on this, I don't think we're going to be in a serious relegation battle. I don't personally think that. Yeah, definitely fingers crossed under the table. Yeah, so I certainly don't think we're going to be battling for 8th, 6th place or nothing like that either. But I don't think we're going to be in a relegation battle. But I think the 2 windows coming up in 2022 are going to be essential to the short and medium term future of the club. What about you, Pricey?
I agree with that 100%. But I just want something simple. I just want us to have our first 11 injury. Get all the players back from injury and have our first 11 for as long as possible in the second half of the season. And let's see how good we are or how good we're not, and see if we can have a good, strong second half of the season and see where it gets us. But we've hardly had our strongest 11 on the pitch for at any point this season. So that's what I'd like to see. Just like to see the first 11 in, and let's just see where we're at when we've got all our players back on the pitch.
Teddy?
I'm expecting our optimism to be a lot more than yours.
Yeah.
I mean, I've just talked about wanting to, get to a domestic cup final. It'd be nice, but certainly, I just want us to make sure that when we get past this Christmas period, we don't dribble off like we did last year. So for me, being in this league chase, being in with the chance to win the league title until the last game of the season, if we haven't already won it before that point, would be the absolute aim for me. That is still the most important thing, is winning. I want us to win another league, and also hopefully be able to celebrate it with the fans. So,
Gary?
Yeah, not far behind that. Basically, just want us to be competing for everything we're in. It's rare that we go deep in every competition. You see Man City do it regularly, and they're always there for the league. They're always trying to get there for the Champions League. They usually win the League Cup, and they're always there for the FA Cup. I don't see why we can't be in that position this year. I'd just like us to go deep in every competition and still be within, coming towards the last few weeks of each competition, being with a shout of winning them.
Absolutely.
Superb. Okay, well, hopefully that gives you a little bit of food for thought yourselves, looking back on the last year.
How depressing is the difference, though? Can I just say, how depressing is that difference between Liverpool and Everton?
Yeah, if you never told
me, I feel
Yeah.
worse after listening to that.
I have to hold back.
They want to be competing. They want to be competing for everything, and I just want our first 11 to be on the pitch.
And Judgy just wants to be able to keep within the window.
Oh dear.
That's it. I just want to sell some of our players.
That's a killer, that,
I know. I was going to say, if you've never Tony, and just skip past that section, I'll give you a heads up, and you can just skip past it. Okay, we'll just looking ahead with a degree of optimism to the Boxing Day fixtures. We'll start with the Reds, I think. What's that? Yeah, your early kickoff against Leeds at home. A decimated Leeds side at the moment. They must be the worst side, at the moment on form that I've seen in a long time in the Premier League, and that's saying something when Newcastle are in the league. They've took a 7-0 and a 4-1 in the last week. What? How just
And have they got to play Hughes anytime soon?
They'll be open. So they'll be open.
Yeah, I mean it's one of them. I don't want to say it's a banana skin, but they're a wounded animal, aren't they, at the moment? Like you're sort of looking at it, thinking they must be we've got to do something. So they'll be looking to bounce back, because they have been on the back of some heavy defeats recently. And I think I've watched them a couple of times recently. I think what was the game? The Spurs game, when I thought they played boss the first half against Spurs. It was a couple of weeks ago, the end of November, and then Spurs came out after our time and were a different side, and Leeds just couldn't live with them, and it was the first time that you sort of look at it. I looked at it and thought, like, these have got no other way to play Leeds. Like, and it's not the first time. Obviously, we know that. Like, Bielsa's got, is very set in his ways, isn't he? But you could see Spurs had changed things, and they didn't do anything different, Leeds, and they ended up losing the game. And I think since then they've obviously the missing players and stuff, and they've just really got themselves into a really bad rut. And as you say, Judgy, you're watching them at the moment, and it's like, it looks like the first time in probably ages that people are starting to look at Bielsa, and the squad are starting to look and say, like, what are you going to do to try and arrest this sort of, this issue? And it doesn't look like he has any other answers.
No. Watching the game the other night against Arsenal, like you say, they started the game trying to kind of somehow, I don't know if it was an instruction to the manager or it was just the players' inability to play at the level they normally do. But there was a lot of kids out there, and they looked like a League One team. They were miles off it. Then they put a little bit of intensity into the second half, had a little go. But again, when they conceded, Arsenal just stepped it up again. And that's not a great Arsenal side as we've seen, as you've seen as well.
So it is one of them, in theory, with our strong side, if we've got a strong side to be able to put out after the Leicester game and stuff, and a few more days of isolation and stuff, then on form it looks like it should be a comfortable win. But I am wary, being the early kickoff on Boxing Day, and obviously players still celebrate Christmas Day with their families and stuff. It's like, just got to make sure that we don't take our eye off the ball, and make sure that we get the points, particularly on the back of dropping some there against Spurs. Can't afford to let City, open up 7-8 point gaps and stuff like that, it just starts to get a little bit hairy and trying to claw that back, doesn't it, guys?
I think they've got Leicester on Boxing Day as well, the City, which could, I know Leicester have been in no great shape, so that could still on the day, be a tricky tie for them. I'm not in the same mindset, to be honest. I don't see them as a wounded animal, and I just think that the game's there for the taking. And if we don't take the game to them and come away with a comfortable victory, I'll be disappointed. No two ways about it. There's no way they should be coming to Anfield and even getting a sniff. Certainly in the position they're in and the position we're in. Even if we are still missing a couple of our players, I don't want to come across too sort of arrogant here, but the two positions that the two clubs are in at the moment, if they come in and even put us under pressure to the point where we're struggling to get the win, I think that's a very, very bad day for Liverpool.
Yeah,
well, predictions, lads.
I'm going to go 4-0 Liverpool.
Strong. I'm going to say 2-0 Liverpool.
Any players in particular to look out for anyone playing our fancy football game on Boxing Day? For you guys, who would you push from your end?
What I will say is on BetMate, well, I'm not sure you picked up on, but Jota's class as a midfielder.
I know that's
going in my team every game.
Yeah, little cheat. There's always little ones like that, players like that, isn't there? On the Premier League fancy footy as well, where you like get them in there because you get extra points. So good tip there. Get Jota in maybe as your captain.
Yeah, I was going to say normally you just go Salah every time, but for that reason, because you get more points for the midfielders and things like that.
Yeah, you captain him as well, and he scores or whatever.
Yeah, and it's not just that. There's other players as well that because you get points for like tackles and things like that. If Fabinho's back, he's want to be in there because he loves an interception.
Yeah, I always throw him in there. I mean, like Phillips might be a good one for Leeds because you imagine if he's playing, he'll have to make a lot of tackles just to stay in the game. And I don't think the midfielders get punished for conceding goals. So if you use it all over them, I'm sure he'll have to make about 75 tackles in the game. But yeah, okay, moving on to our... Sorry, did we get a prediction then?
Yeah 4-0 and 2-0.
Must have fell asleep momentarily. Pricey, so we got a very different task, and it's always a tricky one. Burnley away on Boxing Day as well. It's going to be freezing, and they're just going to be lumping balls into our box. And we have struggled with set plays anyway. Under Benitez, slightly better in recent times, I must say, but tough proposition. But I think it's a game really that we've got to go in and we've got to try and take, like the Reds have said about their game, we've got to try and come out on the front foot, haven't we, and get at them. Yeah,
it's going to be hard. It's going to be a tough game against Burnley. How they're going to set up. It's going to be no surprises whatsoever. I actually think Burnley I think Dyche has took them probably as far as they can go. I can see them being relegated this season, to be honest with you. They don't look the same team as they have in the past. So I think we should be going and winning. We should be beating Burnley away. I get that it's going to be tough, but like I say, I don't think they're. Whenever I've watched them this season, they haven't looked like the team that they have in the past couple of seasons or that you'd expect under Dyche. I think he's just took them as far as they can go. I think for me, it'd be nice if we can get a couple of our players on the pitch. I think if Calvert-Lewin can come on and just get on the pitch for 20 minutes or whatever, that'd be a big bonus for us. But yeah, it's going to be a scrap. It's going to be a real battle. It's not going to be a pretty game. I think there'll be one goal in it, but I think we've got to be going expecting to win, especially when you look at the league table as well. And if we get beat, especially where that takes us, and compare that to if we do win and we can sort of try and push on and maybe get into the top 7, top 8, in a few weeks' time. But it's games like this you need to win if you want to try and push on. So I think it'll be tough, but I think I've got to be optimistic for it and think that we can go there and we can get a win.
Yeah, well, apparently Dominic Calvert-Lewin will be available to play some parts. Like you say, we're not sure if it's... I doubt it'll be from the start. You'd imagine that you will put him on the bench and hope that we won't need him and save him for the next fixture. But just on that note, do you expect any of the other youngsters from the other night to start, regardless of who's available?
No, I think Gordon, if you count him, is one. I can't see Branthwaite or Sims or Dobbin playing. I think as well as they done. I think if there's other players available and they don't start, as I said before, as well as they did do, they're not starters for Everton. They're still there, in the background trying to earn the stripes. So if you've got Godfrey at left back, Keane and Holgate, he'll probably play centre back if he goes 4-4-2. Yeremine is obviously still out, so I can't see Branthwaite playing there. And then up front, I think Rondon's back a scene today. I'm sure I've seen Rondon was back, so he's likely to start, isn't he? Whether you want to or not. I think Benitez is going to start Rondon over Sims if it comes to it. But it'd be nice to play Gordon and those youngsters to be on the bench if and when we. I mean, Dobbin's the one I'd probably, other than Gordon, Dobbin's the one I'd like to see get on the pitch again. Because I think he looked really lively. He looked like he's got something that he can give the team, especially the way we are now. So he's the one. If one of them's going to play, I'd like to see him.
Do you think with the aerial strength of Burnley and obviously the fact they play 4-4-2, two big strikers, do you think you'd be tempted to go with three centre backs again, and maybe put Godfrey back in there and potentially put Luca Dean in at a left wing back?
Do you think he'll play? Do you think Dean's got a chance to play? I don't think he'll play him, will he?
I don't know. I don't know. Again, if he's saying that he's available, I don't know. I suppose it's a risky one because if he does get injured, you really are scupping and plans for January. But
I mean, the five worked well. The five worked well because it was Chelsea away and it was defensive. If we go that defensive against Burnley away, I don't think I'd like to see that as well as it worked. It worked for what we were trying to achieve on that day. So I don't think I'd like to see us be that defensive against Burnley, to be honest. The three maybe would work, as you say, if Luca Dean was going to play, Coleman or Kenny on the wings, and we played them, use them as attackers, because against Chelsea, they were just defensive players. Yeah, they weren't using as attackers. So if we play wing backs and we use them as attackers, then that's one potential way of playing. But he's got it. If he's going to do that, then we do have to offer a bit more going forward. As good as we were defensively against Chelsea, we need more against Burnley. I wouldn't be happy to sit back like we did in that game. Agreed.
Okay, before we come on to predictions then, any players for you that you'd look to get into your BetMate fancy football team for this game?
From an Everton point of view, I see Michael Keane's got the most interceptions of any player in the league. So I think Michael Keane's always good to have in the team, I think, for that reason alone, because obviously your defenders get your interception. So I'd have him there. He's always got a chance of getting a goal as well off a corner, potentially. So he'd be the one I'd throw in. Nick Pope's a good keeper. If Everton perform the way we hope to perform, might get a few shots on target, and he's a decent keeper to save them potentially. They'd be the two. What about you?
Decent, yeah. I always like the combative midfielders, so maybe Westwood or something from Burnley, or depends if Alan's fit for us. I'd always throw Alan in there because he tackles Everton, doesn't he? Even when he doesn't need to tackle, he puts the tackle in. So yeah, I'd probably go for one of the centre mids. Be great, as I say, be great to see Dominic Calvert-Lewin back in there, but I can't see him being on from the start.
No.
Predictions then?
I'm going to start. I think we'll win. As I say, I don't think, but from what I've seen at Burnley this season, they're not the team that they've been the last couple of seasons, and I fancy them to go down. So I think we can get a 1-0. I think if we defend properly, I think I can see us nicking a goal.
I'm going to go with 2-1. I'm not so optimistic of us keeping a clean sheet, but I do think we've got enough firepower to get a couple there. I think it might be Calvert-Lewin who comes off the bench and wins it for us, though, which would be
take that.
Yeah, definitely. Just made me slightly happier than thinking.
Pointed in a relegation battle.
Yeah, absolutely, mate. Get us out of that good Christmas period and get us in the right half of the league. Okay, well that's us signing off for 2021. Massive thanks to everyone who's followed us this year, who's listened, who's viewed. We've only been up on YouTube now, I think 6 to 8 weeks. We've got as we said before, a really good following. We'd love to get to 1,000 subscribers by Christmas or by New Year. So as you've seen on the banner, if you're watching on YouTube, it's been saying subscribe. If you aren't a YouTube viewer yet, get on YouTube and subscribe, and obviously you get to see our mugs. Like we said at the start, we will be throwing out some of our back catalogue of extras that we managed to record over Zoom during Christmas. We'll announce them on social media over the next few days. I know, just we've got one of them at least is Jay Spearing from Liverpool, which we've done a while back. We've got Pat Nevin from Everton potentially we could put up there. We've got another one who was a red and a blue. We're hoping to try and get up there if Millsy can find the video. But as I say, we'll have at least 4 out. We'll have 2 reds, 2 for the Reds, 2 for the Blues, and hopefully we'll have someone who's played for both sides. But thanks again for everyone following us this year. All the best for Christmas, and we'll catch you in 2022.